So the whole notion there was, if fear is a beacon, if fear is like anything outside your comfort zone is an opportunity for you to get better at something, right? Because every time you get a fear spike about something, it's because you're not comfortable with it. How many of you get nervous when you gotta brush your teeth? Put your hands up, right? But guess what? My wife just, a couple weeks ago, bit down on some protein bar and one of her teeth cracked. Ooh. Like in her mouth. It was like click. She looked at me and go, "Did you hear that?" I go, "Yeah." She goes, "I think I just broke my tooth." And asked me until she got her appointment to go see the doctor, if brushing her teeth caused her any fear. Yeah, because your muscle, shit, I forgot about that exposed area, right? And so I could say, "Oh, you're not afraid to brush your teeth," and then suddenly you get, something going on, a bad cavity, some sort of infection. Now you're afraid to brush your teeth because it causes pain. In other words, that fear spike can be triggered. What we need to do is to have a way to look at it and for us to manage fear. Does that make sense? So the acronym FUCK fear came about because at the moment that shit is happening, you need something I need to move fast. And wouldn't it be great, and this isn't to be cavalier, at some point, every one of you in some sort of dire situation, and it could be anything that happened, where you get to a point where you're fed up, where you go, "Fuck it, let's go," right? It's just that, right? And some of you may not like to swear, so you don't say that, so you say fudge it. I don't have an acronym for that, I have to figure that out. But fuck it became face it, understand it, confront or control it, and then that would mean you now know fear. I'm going to understand more about it. The big thing that the caveat and the big reframe on there is, just because you embrace it and accept it and move towards it doesn't mean it dissipates, that it's gone. Mike Tyson used to throw up before his fights, right? A lot of people don't know that. And so forget Mike Tyson as whatever you think of him in his personal life. As a fighter, the guy was insanely scary, right? Used to throw up before his fights. But when you saw him walking to the ring with no robe on, with no entourage, you're like, "Shit, this guy's gonna kill somebody," right? He just finished throwing up because his physiology said, "Here we go," right? And so we need to find a way to manage it. And I really believe what happens is, so fear as an emotion creates emotional inertia. Your body and mind need to work together. Really, and this is the foundation of the whole spear system and everything we teach. What we figured out a way to do, and this started back here in Montreal in 1988 during a drill called the Sucker Punch drill, where I'm always coming up with drills at 3 or 4 in the morning, and I'd go into the school and I'd go, "You, come here," and I would just do this shit. And one day, one of my students, Warren, who's a really good boxer, and I said, "Warren, come here a sec. I just hallucinated a drill last night, I want to test it out." He says, "Okay, what is it?" I said, "We're always like touching gloves and sparring or doing scenarios from a distance and, walking in and maneuvering, but we're not surgically isolating specific attacks." And I said, "Here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna put on 16-ounce boxing gloves, and I'm gonna put on a mouth guard. And during a conversation within arm's reach, you're going to punch me anywhere in my body as fast as you can, and as hard as you can." And he looks at me and he goes, "Okay, what are you gonna do?" So, "Well, I'm filming it." This is like back in the day, RCA VHS. Like, who remembers that? And you were that old, right? The giant.
I those days.
And so he looks at me and he goes, "So let me get this straight. You're going to not hit me or do anything, I'm just gonna hit you?" And I go, "Yeah." And he gets this like almost like a serial killer type grin. And I was like, "What the, okay?" And here's the thing is, he put the gloves on, I put the mouth guard on, and he walked towards me like super, like inside boxing range, and my body was like, and my hands started to come up, because this was the Pavlovian response when somebody gets that close. But what I was recognizing right here was something insanely profound was happening, because I was trying to rationalize changing the drill. But I knew part of me detached was like, this is how close we are to people in the real world. When someone says, hey, you got the time? And you go, yeah, sure, and you want to show them your new watch, you're not like going, yeah, sure. Like you're not hitting the crummy hit stands, fucking like, you know, and doing, you're like, whatever, when something happens to you, when you bump into somebody in line somewhere, or you get out of your car and you took someone's parking spot, but you didn't realize it, and they're gonna freak out and try and kill you over a parking spot. Like, you're so behind the adrenaline dump there, and that's what happens to people in real violence. I just posted it, it's so graphic, I didn't repost it, but a guy who I've trained with in the States just posted a knife attack where the video shows like a guy getting stabbed and actually getting murdered on film. Oh. And it's horrific to watch. And what's interesting is a lot of the martial arty people are like, that's why I carry, and that's why I teach, and that's why I do this. And I'm like, my post was, I abhor violence. And that's why I developed this system. That still disgusts me. You know, I started training when I was like 7, 8 years old. I'm 57 now. So 50 years I've been doing some sort of stuff. That still disgusts me. I still had an adrenaline dump. I watched it and went, I had to do like a deep breath because I was just horrified that the guy dying had no idea what to do. And what I pointed out in this video was that if you look at it, watch the video, and then look at every martial artist teaching knife fighting and notice that nothing they're teaching looks like anything you just witnessed. Do you know how fucking deep that is? Because we go there and we practice step 1, step 2, step 3, and it looks like nothing, right? And it's almost the same as like studying classical ballet and then going out with your boyfriend or your girlfriend at night to like a rock and roll club and everyone's dancing, and you put on a fucking tutu and start doing this there, you're probably gonna get beaten up and thrown out, right? It's just like, it's just not the right dance. It doesn't fit in. Are you a better athlete? Do you have better self-control, body mechanics? Yeah, but it's just not contemporary. Does that make sense? You get that? And so it blew my mind. And so the system that I developed was actually something I wish someone had taught me when I was 10 or 11 or 12. How to detect violence and move the fuck away from it as fast as possible. How to, if I can't, how to diffuse it and de-escalate it using intelligent verbal tactics and skills. And then if push came to shove, how do I protect myself? How to protect my family? If you Google self-defense and definitions, every definition online, Merriam-Webster, Wiki, they all have a definition, I'm paraphrasing, that basically says the physical act of protecting yourself or your property. If it starts with the physical act of protecting yourself or your property, what's already happened? The attack. So none of it talks about what we call the 3Ds, detect, diffuse, defend. So every system that starts with how to get out of a headlock, I mean, how many of you done some self-defense? Let me see, show hands. Like half the class. All of you know to get out of a headlock. Where did that drill start all the time?
In the headlock.
In the headlock. So here's what you practiced. So let's say you did 10,000 reps of that, you're fucking good at that move. It might be a shit move, it might be a great move, but guess what you did 10,001 reps of? Letting somebody put you in a headlock. Did you guys get that? Yeah. So you never practice reading bad intentions, what I call dissonance, like when a guitar is out of tune or piano is out of tune, you go, what's that weird noise? So every victim of violence who lived to tell the tale said what? Every single one of them said, I had a bad feeling before the attack. But if you practice, you do like a weekend self-defense course, or you do self-defense for 10 years, and you always start from the move, D3, what you're doing is you're eliminating every pre-contact cue, you're eliminating all the fear management requirement, because the scary shit is when it happens quickly, not when it happens super, super slow. Do you remember one of the funniest scenes? This would be a great time to insert this movie scene. It was one of the Austin Powers videos where, do you remember when he's like in a warehouse and they show the henchman coming at him with the steamroller, but it's like, and he's like 100 yards away going, and he's in our primal flinch, and it would cut back to, like that. That's a great visual, because I don't know what to do, I'm fucking frozen in fear. You can just move. A lot of stuff here, especially for guys, because guys can be dicks, because they have them, I guess, I don't know. But, did I just say that out loud?
I recorded it.
Okay, good. It's being recorded in 3
I can
places,
pick
so
up
I
the
can't
meme
like
of it
it.
later.
Let's
I'm streaming it, and I'm going to take the soundbite of you saying dick and cut it into some cool. I'm working on it. I'll fix it.
Yeah, like that Instagram thing.
I was thinking
the boomerang.
like yeah, boomerang. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Thanks.
a dick around. It's going to be good.
Maybe do it 69 times. No,
Discuss it.
maybe do it a little too subtle. Okay. Yeah, I'm out here. Let's go. Seminar's over. So I didn't even remember what I was talking about. What was it?
Guys that
And so here's the big thing. So here's something for all of you guys to remember. Don't let pride or ego dictate your next strategy. Do not let pride or ego dictate your next strategy. I managed to use the word dick and dictate. Very subtle, very, very cerebral seminar. And if I've expanded any of your vocabulary, like please thank me later. But you guys get that? Most people move towards danger because like the audacity, I'm gonna, as opposed to, you know what? So I've got a directive, a principle directive. So when you open up, how many of you have Apple computers? You see a show of hands. How many of you are on PCs? You guys like nerds, you like to write your thing, go to. Stuff like that. So I love viruses, I'm buying a PC. Look how slow this is. It's just slowing me down. It's more like it's the yoga of computing. Every modern computer is an operating system that does a lot of work for you. So imagine if like you had to go if then go to and you still had to do DOS to use a computer, we'd all be writing shit. We wouldn't have smartphones, right? It would be, forget that shit. And so I want you all to think about your personal safety in the same way. What's your operating system? What opens up and what RAM do you have here that says detect and avoid, diffuse and de-escalate, and push comes to shove, defend yourself, be moral, be ethical, be legal, force must parallel danger, and just understand that, where you are, where you live, and where you travel. Because when you set that boundary, the alarms go off and the directive deploys, right? So you know what to do. And what would, if I said to you, don't ever let this happen to you. I don't care if you're on a date, if you're here, don't ever let that happen to you. Here's your first step. In a classroom, you go, yeah, fuck yeah, I got that. But if that looked like it was starting to happen in real life, guess what would start to happen? You'd get a fear spike. So there's four phases that I'm gonna use because this is a movement facility. I'm gonna use movement terms. The first one is awareness, body awareness, situational awareness, right? And situational awareness isn't just, hey, what's happening out there? I define situational awareness as the relationship between what's happening around you with what's happening in you. If you have no self-awareness, your situational awareness is clouded. If you don't know you have an unconscious bias, if you're prejudiced, if you're arrogant, so all the injuries that I have was because I didn't have self-awareness. You understand what I mean by that? So someone would say, you should warm up, and I go, I warm up by fighting, and we would jump. So back in the 80s, we would warm up in the ring. Let's warm up, let's start off slow. And you start going, right? So there were no fucking bands and foam rollers back then. Right, Sean? Back me up.
Yeah, you're right.
Right?
Ord can back you too. He's old school.
So
That's why his body looks like a question mark. It's only from love, Ord. It's from love.
wow, it's true though. But mine used to have an S curve, and now it's just a C. It's the alphabet game with our bodies. But here's the thing: is that self-awareness that you're developing here, you now know, like, oh, I shouldn't do that. Where it used to be, like pain is good, right? And what people forgot to say is mental pain is good, meaning mental toughness. It was like no, if it's hurting your body, it's probably hurting your body, right? And so really simple. And so the whole thing that I want to share with you is that there's these 4 stages to being effective in a personal defense situation. One is having situational awareness, and I want you to understand and memorize this, that your situational awareness is always going to be biased and skewed and therefore not accurate if you don't have self-awareness. That makes sense? Your self-awareness then allows you to experience a fear spike. Like, so if I go, no one would touch me, this is my neighborhood, and then I walk into like an area where 4 guys jump me, my unconscious bias and lack of self-awareness moved me into danger. So I won't have the fear spike that I need. Every victim of violence who lived to tell the tale said I had a bad feeling. That has now become desensitized or clouded because I don't have proper self-awareness. Isn't that cool? See how behaviorally sound this is? So, but once I get a fear spike, so if I can clear that, get a fear spike, suddenly I realize, you know what? No fear, KNOW fear, is good because fear keeps you alive. Your fear of moving vehicles keeps you alive every time you're at a crosswalk. Your fear and respect for gravity keeps you alive when you're like looking over something. Well, that's close enough, right? And so your fear of weights when you're flinging, you know, a kettlebell over your head, and you realize, you know, that's too much, and you got to pitch it or drop it, and you figured out how to do that because you know it shouldn't bounce on your head. That'd be less desirable, right? And so you manage the fear spike by understanding fear, and you have to have a protocol: face it, understand it, confront it. The control I throw in there, but I qualify that as, don't think that controlling fear means fear is absent. There's a lot of things in life that you should have an adrenaline dump for, right? If you're, you know, in a fighting competition, jiu-jitsu competition, like being too relaxed can be dangerous, right? How many of you remember, oh my God, I just forgot his name. He was a K1 champ and a UFC champ. Holy shit, I just drew a blank. But I'm sitting there, I'll remember it after, and I apologize. But I'm sitting there and I study fear. So anytime I meet somebody who is like world class in their skill set, I'll talk to them. And I've talked to a lot of fighters, victims of violence, business people, whatever, just to see how they program, rationalize, manage fear. And so here are Maurice Smith. Anyone remember Maurice? Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting there and he's lying there on like a massage table, and he's got headphones on, and he's like listening to rhythm and blues, just like jazz, whatever. He's just mellow. Everyone else in the changing room, if I looked around, there's one guy sitting there, you know, his legs going 100 miles an hour. He's sitting on a bench like this. Another guy's walking around doing this. Another guy's punching himself in the face, right? Like everyone's got their own pre-fight ritual, right? You all do too. And so I asked Maurice at the appropriate time, I said, hey, can I ask you a question? I study fear. He goes, yeah. He goes, I said, you look so calm and so relaxed, like you're not afraid before a fight. And he looks at me and he goes, let me ask you a question. I said, yeah, sure. He said, do you have a job? I said, yeah, I do. He said, are you afraid to go to work? I said, no, I'm not. He goes, me either. Headphones back on, right? Like what a cool line in a movie. But imagine if I had taken that, right? Imagine if I had taken that message and to that